Last week, Joan Graves told the story where she went to an exercise class with the world-famous Doris Palmer. But somebody in the class said to Joan, "I know you." And those were the words you used, weren't they? "I know you." And I believe you said, Joan, that the next week you went back to that class without the world-famous Doris Palmer. And the feeling that I got from your telling of your welcome story was that the welcome of the one who knew you and the welcome of the others in the class turned you from an outside spectator, possibly visiting a class that you might or might not have gone back to a person who thought, maybe I could come to this class and maybe I could welcome somebody else. Welcome, welcome, welcome. You are always welcome here. What a wonderful sound for each one of us to hear. Zacchaeus was a lot of things. He was small of stature. He was very rich. But he was not welcome. He was not just a tax collector. He was the chief tax collector. So he was in charge of a bunch of tax collectors. Earlier in the book of Luke, John the Baptist, when asked by tax collectors, how much tax should we collect, teacher? John the Baptist told them, only what you are due. Well, that essentially would be putting the tax collectors out of business because, as we talked about last week, they made their big money on gouging. So no, Zacchaeus was not popular and was not welcome in any exercise class or in any home or any part of the community. How would I feel and how would you feel living in a community but not being welcome? Everybody knowing who you were, but nobody making a space for you. Maybe lonely in a crowd. Is that what homeless people feel like? Is that what morbidly obese people feel like? Differently abled people, is that what they feel like? Is that what trans people feel like? Everybody there with you. Nobody looking. Nobody making you welcome. But Zacchaeus was curious. This Jesus had a reputation as a teacher and as a healer, as the Messiah that had been promised for so long by the prophets, and Israel had been waiting so long. Been waiting so long for a deliverer, been waiting so long for a change. As we work through the book of Jeremiah, we are looking at a people who were displaced by an angry God, and they are waiting for somebody to deliver them. And even 800 years after the book of Jeremiah, the people are still waiting. And even though many would say Zacchaeus was part of the corrupted old system, maybe Zacchaeus too was hoping for a way to be released from his own life of hurting his own people. Tired of being shut out, tired of nobody speaking to you, maybe afraid for his family to walk the streets. Maybe he was afraid. Maybe he felt unsafe on the streets. Zacchaeus was not only curious, Zacchaeus was also resourceful. Zacchaeus ran on ahead of the crowds that shut him out. And as you know, he got tired of looking at the backs of people who had formed this line that he couldn't get in. And he said, okay, I'll fix them. And he climbed up a tree, and not just any kind of tree, but what kind of? Ooh, you all are quiet today. What kind? Sycamore. A sycamore tree. The significance of some species of sycamore trees is that they grow tall, but they have branches that spread out and often lean back down towards the earth. So maybe Zacchaeus climbed the sycamore tree in all of his tax collector finery, and maybe just maybe he scooted out on one of those low-hanging branches that would support him. So he had kind of like a balcony right over where Jesus would go and where the people couldn't hit him. Just above the heads of the people who wouldn't let him in the crowd. The people over whose heads he couldn't see because of his height. Because he was curious and resourceful, and he wanted to get a good look at this phenomenon, this healer, this teacher, this Jesus. And Jesus was passing by. And Jesus looked up, and their eyes met. And just like the one that identified Joan in the world-famous Doris's exercise class, Jesus' eyes said, I know. But then Jesus said for all to hear, Zacchaeus, you come down out of that tree and be quick about it. Get your house ready. I'm coming to stay there today. Oh, how the people who were there to welcome salvation suddenly turned on Jesus. The people in Jericho were a lot like the crowd that was to line the streets on Jesus' entry into Jerusalem. Jesus, aren't you here for us? Jesus, we believe in you. We are faithful to you. We are the downtrodden, not this tax collector. The people began to grumble against Jesus. Look at him, going to stay in the home of the one who oppresses us. Some Messiah, some Savior. You see, the grumblers had already cast Jesus in their own image. We know what to expect from a real Messiah. Here's what a real person sent from God would do. Here's who a real person sent from God would welcome. Here's what a real person sent would. Here's where a real person sent from God would stay. Not at the home of some tax collector. Jesus, what are you doing? What the good people standing on the street missed is that Jesus went to Zacchaeus' house right in front of them. Not the house over there, but the house in. The gospel tells us that God is looking up in the trees and down in the gutters at people you and I may not have made a space for, and even as we close ranks against them, God is looking past us and seeing them and saying, I know you, and I am coming to your house. How many of you go the same way to the same places all the time? Do you see the same homeless people at the same places all the time? God knows them. As people come down the aisle and give the preacher their hand, we're saying it would be a shame if they sat in my pew, or served on my committee, or joined my social group. But Jesus is not only seeing past you to them, Jesus is calling them out by name. Jesus is saying, I know you. Your name is homeless. Your name is unloved. Your name is lonely. Your name is abused. And you with that especially long name, scared to death of everything. I know you. So hurry and make the home of your soul ready, for I am coming to be with you if you let me. Jesus, by looking into the crowd and then looking up a tree and identifying Zacchaeus, was saying to all, God people, you cannot welcome me and shut anybody out. When you do that, you cease becoming God's welcome community, and you close off your own hearts, and you become another social club, another ladies' auxiliary, another lodge. When I am in your presence, all traditional bets are off. I know this man and other men have oppressed you, but the power of the Spirit of God to right wrongs, not your past hurts, is the prime mover here. The way things stand now in the 21st century, forgiveness by the oppressor and the oppressed is the only way to peace. There have been many movements afoot in our beloved country to make reparations to the descendants of slaves, to the descendants of Native Americans, to the LGBT community, to women, or any other marginalized group, for all of the atrocities that all of these groups have suffered. I don't know how that's going to happen. But in this one instance, Zacchaeus stood in public and said, I can. I will pay back 4 times as much if I have defrauded anyone. He is simply quoting Exodus, the 22nd chapter, the first verse, where it is written in the law of Moses, a thief will pay 5 oxen for the 1 oxen he stole, and 4 sheep for the sheep he stole. It's the law. Apparently, Zacchaeus knew the Jewish law, but being seen and known by the Jewish Messiah, gave Zacchaeus the strength and the courage and the resolve to honor what he already knew. As one of our disciple ancestor theologians, John Calvin, wrote, by being known, Zacchaeus was changed from a wolf not only to a sheep, but then to a shepherd. God sees us and God knows us, but the Spirit of God can change us when? When we get our judgmental selves out of the way. God, you have promised us perfect peace. You promised that you would give us perfect peace. But there is work for us to do too, isn't there? To open our hearts, open our homes, change our attitudes, speak kindly to each other, covenant that as we pass through this life, we will spend this time loving rather than judging, sharing rather than closing ranks on each other. Help us to be quick to forgive so that we too can receive your forgiveness and you can take up residence in the home of our hearts. In your Son's name we pray.